through this year.
Speaker.
Is this for question number 3 or is it supplementary?
It's a question.
Question number 3, James Shaw.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Tourism. Does she stand by her statement regarding a tourist levy that, quote, "I'm personally not a big fan because we're really expensive to visit," end quote?
Speaker.
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, yes. And what I was going to go on to say when I gave that interview, but just didn't get a chance to get all those words in at once, was that I'm interested in looking at how much extra tourism infrastructure we actually need so we can evaluate each project on its merits. Some of the projects that are being put forward from councils are not due to increase tourism. They are core infrastructure that should be provided by councils.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, James Shaw.
Can she confirm that visitor arrivals are forecast to increase from 3.1 million in 2015 to 4.5 million in 2022?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Well, Mr Speaker, there's a number of forecasts and we're ahead of where we thought we would be when we were working towards the 2025. So I've seen one that projects that, but that may or may not happen.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, James Shaw.
What evidence has she seen that an increase to the levy that tourists pay to come to New Zealand to a level still lower than that paid by visitors to the United Kingdom or Australia would deter significant numbers of visitors to New Zealand?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Well, as I said, Mr Speaker, it's not just the matter of us being more expensive. I think there's also the matter of tourism infrastructure being able to to stand up on its own merits and actually present a business case. But one of the surveys that I have seen is not. I agree with the member completely that our border levies are not more expensive necessarily than other countries. But, for example, our accommodation is. So we are, on average, Auckland and Queenstown are more expensive than Melbourne and London, for example.
Supplementary question, David Seymour.
What is the net fiscal impact to central and local government of the average tourist visiting New Zealand?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Well, the average spend of a tourist to New Zealand, I can give you that off the top of my head, is about $3,200 and they stay for 19 days. Those that come in and spend their time around New Zealand in camper vans, so the fully equipped toilets installed ones, is $5,200.
True.
Supplementary question, James Shaw.
Well, does she agree with the finding in the McKinsey tourism report released late last year that says that the size of the tourism infrastructure deficit in New Zealand is in the region of $150 million per year?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
No.
Does she agree with...
Supplementary question,
Supplementary. Does she agree with the former Tourism Minister John Key, who said late last year that small tourism charges were unlikely to have any great impact on visitor numbers?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, yes.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, James Shaw.
Well, then why is it so unreasonable to ask the people who have come from all over the world to enjoy our natural beauty to help to pay to protect it?
Speaker.
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
It's not. They already do. So as well canvassed many times, they pay GST, they put fuel in their vehicles and pay taxes via that. We well accept that there are some infrastructure projects that need assistance and the government is prepared and is already doing work for them. We've funded 14. We've got an extra $5.5 million that's out there at the moment and we've got money for out years. We're also looking through the budget process as to what else we might do. So we don't deny at all that, particularly for those with a small rate base and high visitor numbers, that there's pressure. We also acknowledge, as I did on Sunday, that there's pressure on the DOC estate. Nearly 50% of our international visitors visit DOC, so there's some great initiatives that I'm sure the Minister would love an opportunity to talk about through DOC as well.
Supplementary question. Right Honourable Winston Peters.
When the Chairman of Local Government New Zealand, Lawrence Shewell, National Party candidate in the next election, says that local government is down 1 point... Well, not a view, I'm not, no.
Order, just have the question quickly, otherwise we'll move on.
Well, Mr Speaker, point of order.
Point of order. Order. I have a point of order. I wish to hear it in silence.
Mr Speaker, as you know, questions should be asked in silence. I have hardly...
Order. Order.
Speaker, I shouldn't have to raise a second point of order about the first point of order not being heard in silence.
Order. This is a point of order. Yeah. We will hear it in silence. The Right Honourable.
Yeah. Mr Speaker, every time one gets to his feet, they're being challenged by the front bench of the National Party. Frankly, they should wait until at least the answers from the Minister come, but they're getting in first, and they're never stopped. And the worst offender is that Minister over there, Mr Novapay himself.
Order. Now, I've heard quite enough. The member's right that he has every right to ask a supplementary question. It can't be heard in silence, but we'll hear the question, but it doesn't need to be interjected from my right-hand side. But I also do ask the member, in asking a supplementary, can we have the question without the lead-in about a particular chairman having to be a National Party candidate? That doesn't add to the question at all. I'll now have the supplementary question.
Okay.
Order. We'll have the supplementary question.
If the chairman of Local Government New Zealand, Lauren Schewel, on the very day that she offered $5.5 million to support local government infrastructure, says they're down $1.4 billion, why doesn't she fund it from the central government take?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Well, Mr Speaker, as I've said, this government is prepared to look at infrastructure needs, particularly for small councils with a high visitor number. But unlike that member, keep listening, this is what's happening with some of those projects that are on LGNZ's list. So no, we don't think $108 million for Wellington's wastewater...
Order. Point of order. The Right Honourable.
Mr Speaker, I have asked a direct question about the disparity of a demand and the government's response, and now I'm getting a list of a whole lot of nothings for some time never.
Order. No, that's not the case. It wasn't a direct question. It was quite a well-rounded question, and I'm certainly giving the Minister an opportunity to respond.
So part of that $1.4 billion that the member raised, actually part of that is for $188 million for Wellington's wastewater network. So no, I don't think tourists should be paying for all of that. $122 million for Wellington's drinking water network, $40 million for a new Northland airport, which might be a good thing, but actually New Zealanders use that as well.
Question number 4, Stuart Smith.
Thank you, Mr Speaker.